Welcome back. The construction mafia is not only detrimental to contractors, but to legitimate businesses as well. At least that's according to Business Against Crime South Africa, its project manager, Irish-Qhobosheane. Now, News 24 has reported the spread of the phenomenon, of construction mafia in KwaZulu-Natal, where hundreds of projects with billions of rand have been affected. The construction mafia allegedly extorts money from various businesses and disrupts work on site.
Well, the issue with crime is that you only take knowledge of it once it's reported to the police, because then it's recognized. So we don't really know where it started. You only know once it's made known. It's not affecting construction sites only. It's affecting all business. But definitely during construction, there's disruption. The security is not up to scratch because you're working on a site with a lot of movement, a lot of equipment. So it's an opportunity for the criminals to attack. The problem is that quite often senior political operatives are involved in the local community, so it's fairly difficult because reporting the crime might expose you to a bigger problem. But it must be reported and it must be investigated and it must eventually go to court.
All right, let's continue to unpack the story now. We're joined by Jenni Irish-Qhobosheane from the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. Jenni, it's great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. And I wonder, whether we can start at the beginning in terms of what we mean by construction mafia.
Yeah, I think we need to distinguish between the construction mafia and legitimate community demands and concerns that arise. I think when we're talking about the construction mafia, we're talking about people arriving on sites heavily armed and making demands using violence and extortion tactics to actually ensure that either they get some income from the project, that they become subcontractors without going through proper processes, that they determine who the people are that are employed on the site. So I think there is a big need to distinguish between local communities who might feel excluded from projects and groups who come on and systematically extort construction sites.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not just about making things difficult for legitimate contractors. It's about making things impossible and in some cases life-threatening.
Absolutely, and in actual fact, it's not only the lives of the contractors, but it's also the workers on site. There have been examples where workers have been shot and have actually been assaulted when the mafias come on site.
So have we lost control of this issue completely insofar as law enforcement is concerned, Jenni?
I think that we haven't done enough. I think there's no doubt that we haven't done enough. And when that happens, we start to see the practice becoming normalized, where construction companies say, well, we'll just pay to make the problem go away. And that becomes really problematic because not only does it allow those kinds of tactics to spread to other sectors of the economy, but also it becomes normalized, it becomes entrenched, and it becomes that much more difficult to deal with. I do think that we haven't completely lost control. I think we still need to act against it. But I think there needs to be a much more concerted campaign on the part of different levels of government working together, construction companies, business and communities working together if we're going to deal with this effectively.
I can just well imagine how difficult it is and you mentioned this just in your previous answer, how difficult life becomes as a worker on any construction site. As communities, because I understand the construction mafia even extends to people who are renovating their own private homes in some extreme cases. There's a big issue around insecurity for workers and for people, for the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, we often talk about the economic damage that this has done to infrastructure, to development projects. What is less measurable is the fact that people live in fear working on those construction sites and the kind of fear and stress and trauma that those people go through. That's a lot less measurable.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jenni, insofar as you know, the next steps are concerned here? Because, you know, it makes legitimate contractors, it makes their lives incredibly difficult. Because how do you compete, right, with that level of firepower insofar as the construction mafia is concerned? And I imagine that the construction mafia can't operate without having someone on the inside. Would that be an accurate assessment?
Yeah, they very often would know about contracts and would hear about contracts, and they often refuse to participate in any of the processes, the normal processes. So they would have people inside. They often also do, as was said earlier, they do align themselves with, try to actually influence certain processes around the contracting process. But I think also what we're finding is that you would have a pool of SMME contractors who are now being cut out of contracts because they don't arrive. They will go through normal process. They will tender. They will do whatever is necessary. But they don't arrive on sites armed and disrupt the sites. So very often those are the people that are being cut out of contracts in favor of people who are armed and forcing extortion tactics on the construction company.
I wonder whether, Jenni, in your research, you've also managed to ascertain, you know, sites that are run by construction mafia, what the impact is on the quality of work. Is that something that your research has included?
Look, we have looked at some sites where they've actually demanded payment up front and then disappeared without completing the project. There have been those sites where that has happened. There have been sites where contractors have just basically put up an office and said, here's your office, here's your money. We don't really even expect you to do the work. We're just paying you to get the problem to go away. But there would be one or two sites where they have actually fulfilled their obligations. To what quality, we don't know. That is something that we haven't looked at.
Yeah, it's such a far-reaching challenge, and I wonder whether our law enforcement is indeed up to the task. Jenni, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. Jenni Irish-Qhobosheane is a senior analyst at the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime.